we were all just sort of struck by how awesome your comedic timing was. I mean, you were hitting joke after joke. Did you have any input, or how did that work?
There was. It was a collaboration. You know, they come up with the framework. I have a bunch of ideas. I mean, it's not all that often that I get to pitch a bunch of comedy ideas to one of the biggest shows in the world. So the Good Idea Fairy was all over the place, and it was fun though. We had a lot of fun.
Congressman-elect, you've said that instead of saying thank you for your service on Veterans Day, we should be saying something else. What is that, and why?
Right. So, you know, veterans always appreciate it when someone says thank you for your service. And I wanted to suggest a different option, which is never forget. And I suggested that because it's less transactional, right? When you thank somebody, it's almost like you're on the other side of them. When you're saying never forget, it's almost like this secret code between Americans where we all recognize that we can never forget the sacrifice of our veterans, past and present. We never forget those we lost on 9/11. Again, it's more of a team effort than it is, you know, a separation of civilian and military.
Yeah. Sir, what you wrote after this all happened, you said in a tweet, I try hard not to offend, and I try harder not to be offended. And that was an incredible act of generosity for you to come here and make it okay and show what forgiveness looks like on Saturday night.
Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted.
Stan Lee's impact spans decades. Think about it. Characters he helped create half a century ago are the stars of movies that today dominate the box office. Today, Marvel's superhero universe can be seen rumbling through movie theaters across the planet. A world rooted in comic books that were guided by Stan Lee.
I almost felt guilty because most people don't really like to go to work. They can't wait till they get a vacation. I loved going to work.
When he was a teenager, Lee was hired as a gopher at a publishing company that eventually morphed into Marvel. It became a comic book powerhouse in the 60s during the medium's silver age.
So I felt, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make the kind of books that parents not only won't mind their children reading, but would want their children to read.
As a writer and art director, Lee helped spawn a long list of fabled superheroes: Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Iron Man, and more.
One of the reasons that most of our characters are so popular because they're really not perfect. They're good at what they do, but they have the same flaws as you and I.
Lee eventually became Marvel's publisher and always remained its most tireless promoter.
Wow, nice suit. Zip it, Stan Lee!
Many stars from those movies are now paying tribute. Captain America actor Chris Evans says there will never be another Stan Lee. From Wolverine Hugh Jackman, we've lost a creative genius. But his towering legacy endures, making Lee a marvel in his own right.
Being First Lady in some ways, not everybody gets to know you and others tell your story. How empowering is it to tell your own story?
Very empowering, because you spend this time, because everyone is writing books. They want to write books. They want to get inside of you. And I was very conscious of saving my story for me to tell, you know, because it's not often that women, let alone women of color, get to tell their own story in a way that's going to be read by millions. So even from the beginning, I felt I knew I would come to a place where I would need to unravel all of this. And I didn't want somebody else who didn't know me but read things about me to do that. As I was growing as a professional, trying to figure out why I wanted to leave law and go into public service, I was marrying this man who had political ambitions. I had to think through who I was and what I wanted to be before I got swept up in his tornado of whatever, right? But the last 8 years or the last 10 years, as you know, there's no time to reflect when you're in that whirlwind. You were doing every day. And when you have kids, the moments that you're not being First Lady, you're being mom, full on, you know, when the kids are little. So I realized that I didn't have a moment to sit back and think, what just happened to me? And how does that feel? And what does that do to my life journey? And how do I reassess or add all those experiences into the others that I came into this with?
I wrote you a letter after
You did.
after the election, just to thank you for all of your work, because I know it's not easy. I'm gonna cry.
I know I am too, but you stop.
No, sorry. But I also wanted to get advice about how to talk to my girls about the way that people, the language that's being used. What did you say to your girls?
We know how to raise our kids. This is the thing that we have to think about. That's what we have to think as adults. Is this behavior something that we would want our 2-year-old or 4-year-old? There are values that we understand and cut across party and race and identity and religion, values of kindness and appreciation. It's like you push past that. We still have to teach our children what we know is right. So in some instances you have to tell them, this isn't how grown-ups behave. Don't emulate this. Watch me, watch your mom, watch your dad, watch your family. We have to push through it because they're the next generation, your little babies, your precious ones who I got to dance with the other day.
With you.
They were very good, by the way.
They called my cafe and they were like, guess who I met? I met your friend.